Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Olivia and this is my channel where I love to talk about all things nail polish. And to start, I want to wish a very happy Hanukkah to those of you who are celebrating. I myself am not Jewish, but I do have friends and family members who are, and I know that also in many nail polish groups that I'm a part of, I've been seeing various people expressing their disappointment that they haven't really seen a lot of like Hanukkah related nail polishes, nail polish collections, and so on. And so all of that kind of comes into why I wanted to do what I could to present some nail art, present some nail ideas, so that those of you who are celebrating Hanukkah are able to bring your love of this nail polish hobby into that. And so for today's video, I have 8 different Hanukkah nail art ideas. Some of these are like very Hanukkah specific with various symbols and symbolism and things like that. But then I also have a number of nail art ideas that are more of what I would consider to be like accent nails that you might want to incorporate with your Hanukkah manicures. So even if you are not someone who's celebrating Hanukkah yourself, I do encourage you to watch for at least those part of it to get some ideas for that, some inspiration as well. And so yeah, I'll just say that I honestly had a lot of fun looking into this, and I wanted to make sure that I did this video with the care and the respect that it deserves, knowing that I'm doing something that is not my personal faith, but that I want to have this here for those of you who are watching, that this does represent your faith, your culture, and so on. And so, yeah, with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. So I'll start by saying that normally in my nail art videos, I begin with the easier designs first and then work my way up to the more difficult ones. Like I think in my Halloween video, I did a ghost where it was literally like 2 eyes and a mouth, and I felt so proud of myself. And then it got harder from there. But for today's video, mixing it up a bit and starting with one of the designs that I think is going to be on the more challenging side, but I'm feeling ambitious and I know that I can do this. So we're starting with a dreidel. And just a couple of, I guess, housekeeping things before I get into this. If this is your first time watching one of my nail art videos, I want to point out that in the video description, I always put links to credit the nail art creators that I'm getting these reference photos and inspiration from. And also because like for some of these designs that I'm using, it tends to be the case where I'm referencing just one of their nail designs, but then they've got a bunch of others that you can pick and choose from as well. So please make sure to check that out. And then also for some of my videos, I tend to show the designs in different lighting, like right after each one. But for this one, I'm going to save all of the extra lighting shots for the end. And as always, there will be a timestamp for that. Okay, so let's get into our dreidel. For starters, I have put down 2 coats of the background color that I'm using for this nail. This one is from Blank Beauty, and okay, so the one that I have is called Nautical Nonsense. They still have this this shade available on their website, but now it's called Pool Boy. So Nautical Nonsense, Pool Boy, whatever it is, that's this one here. So started with 2 coats of that. And then what I prefer to do when I'm doing nail art is that I will put a top coat over the background and like really let that sit, so that it becomes a lot easier for me to then go in and make my lines. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about my thought process and how I'm choosing to approach this. I'm looking at the reference photo and I see that there's, you know, with the dreidel, we're looking at it from an angle. And so this person who created this design, they have two nails side by side where they're showing two of the letters on one nail and then the other two on the other nail. So we're going to need to take a look at this and like imagine that we are viewing it from this angle, and that's the way that we need to draw it. So let's see how this goes. And I'm also thinking, do I want to do the outline first, or you know what? I thought about doing the outline first, but because I know that once you put black down, and sometimes if it can smear if you then put other colors on it. So let me save the black for later. And then what I want to do is bring in some other colors that I want to use for this. So I know one of the blues that I will do is this Sally Hansen Insta-Dry on the download. Fun fact, this was actually in the very first nail polish purchase that I ever made. I remember going to the store one day and I was like, I think I want to start doing my nails, but I don't know what to do. So I picked up this one. The second one was Sally Hansen Insta-Dry apple something, the red one. And then there's a yellow one as well. So this one has a really nice personal connection for me. So this is one of the colors I'll be using. Then I think I'm also going to pull in some whites. So I'm going to use crack polish crinkled linens. So I would say as I'm going into this, my recommendation is to approach this with patience and being calm. Actually, you know what? Instead of using crinkled linens, because this is more of an off-white, I'm gonna pull out my one that is like actual white. And that is ILMP Canvas. I think this one is going to give me a little bit more of that bright white color that I want. And also, as I was doing my nails earlier today, I put some thinner, or I had to put some thinner in my crack polished crinkled linens. So that one is a little bit more, it's not runny, but like, you know, it's not as thick as it was before. And typically when I do nail art, I prefer for my polish to be a bit on the thicker side. Not so thick that it becomes impossible to work with, but like, so that it doesn't end up running all over the place. Okay, so let's see. Last thing I'll mention, I'm using this brush here with this very fine tip. I do recommend for something like this to have as fine of a tip brush as you can, because that is going to be what will allow you to get all of this in on a very tiny space. So I'm going to go smaller than I think I need to. Okay. And for right now, I'm really just concerning myself with the outline of this. And the rest will come later. Okay, we've got an angle going on here. Yeah, I think I'm glad I'm doing it this way, because once I have finished all of this, what I can then do is like, the black will go over everything and give, like if there's any rough lines or edges, I don't have to worry about that later, because the black will cover that up for me. So now I'm just going to fill this in. So far, I think this is going pretty good. I will point out, you'll want to make sure that you leave enough space for like black outline on all sides. So I really do think that's the challenge here, to figure out your sense of space. I know for myself, whenever I try to draw something, even just like on paper, you know, sometimes you're just like, oops, I totally did not take into account how much space I actually have to work with. Okay, that looks good so far. Now, my other side of the dreidel is going to be, I'm going back and forth here, because even though I love on the download, I'm realizing now that I'm going to need to put black over this. And it's not to say that I can't do that, but I think I want to use a lighter blue for that. So this one, I'm going to use Blank Beauty Polka Dot Blue. Okay, yeah, this one I think will be better for that purpose because it's just ever so slightly lighter. You see the difference there? It's like, again, I could put black over the Sally Hansen one, but I think that polka dot blue is going to be more, it's going to make that black letter more visible in the way that I want. Okay. As I'm doing this, I'll also mention that, you know, as you're watching this, I encourage y'all to follow along with me. I think that sometimes what I can find to be incredibly relaxing is just doing nail art. It's very calming, I find. I think doing my nails in general is a very calming activity, but especially when it's something like this where I need to be especially mindful of where things are being placed. It's very just calming. I know it's not for everyone, but for me, often I'm someone who my brain is just going through a million different things at once. And so something like this, it really helps me to be more present, helps me to slow down, and helps me to just enjoy some art. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I would say if you're looking to replicate this, what helped me was, especially after putting down that first white piece, think of it as almost being like, I guess like a chevron shape, an open book kind of thing. Once you've got this, I feel like putting the other pieces in will be pretty easy. I mean, relatively easier, let's see. So now that that's drying, I'm gonna go in with my silver. You've probably seen me use this silver on this channel before. This is Monarch Lacquer Enigma Glow. It's a magnetic topper, but I'm not gonna magnetize it for today. I really just needed like a good silver polish that I could use for illustrating the top and the bottom parts of the dreidel. Though, I mean, if you are going to do this, I can't really velvetize this on this swatch because it's on a swatch wheel, but I'm thinking that what could be pretty interesting would be if you were to do this on like your actual nail and then put that nail in like in a magnet and do the velvet effect on it. You've got like a partially velvet dreidel. I think that would be really cool. Okay, so I think I'm gonna start with the bottom part first. This is a little bit thicker than, okay, it should be fine to work with. Okay, so I am going to go in on the bottom here. I also think that once I put down the black border, that is where you really get to define the shape in any way that you need to if it wasn't already clear. I think I accidentally got a fleck of silver on the bottom there. Whoops. It'll be okay. Yeah, the silver is a little rough, but the border will be okay. All right, so now looking at the top, I'm looking at the reference photo and I'm seeing that, yeah, we've got what's going to close this out as a shape, but then do I want, and then we've got the top of the dreidel sticking up. Okay, so I think what I might do to help me get a sense of like the top of the dreidel, I'm probably gonna put that in first, like there. And then see what I can do to fill in the other parts here. I'll also mention that the more you do nail art, the better you get at it. I think that for me personally, part of the challenge can be when like sometimes I have very shaky hands, like one or the other or both, and that can be tricky. I think part of why I like doing these nail art videos on my channel is to show people that even if you're someone like me who has shaky hands, you can do nail art in whatever way you choose to. Even if Your lines aren't always straight or perfect. You can still do nail art if you want to. So I really hope I can encourage all of you who may have been feeling hesitant to do it, that it's okay to have some imperfections, as long as it all makes you happy. Y'all, look at that. Okay. Yeah, this looks really good. So the other thing I would stress about nail art that can be very tricky, at least for me, is the patience element of it, and not wanting to rush the drying process. So if I zoom in here a little bit, you can see the detail in here and just how, like, you know, it looks like things are still relatively wet. So what I'm going to do next is I'm gonna take a few minutes, let this fully dry, and then once that has dried, I'll come back with some black, and then we'll do our outlines and then also add the letters. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I told myself to be very patient. What I did was that I put on a coat of top coat over this. So to kind of recap, I started with 2 coats of the light blue polish, Nautical Nonsense, put a top coat over that, then did the painting that you see here, then put a top coat over that. And the trick to helping it to not smudge or smear is to, first of all, wait longer than you even think, like 5-ish minutes for it to fully dry. And then when you put the top coat on, you're like making sure that the brush doesn't like hit the what you have painted on there. You're more like floating your brush over it and then letting that set. What I did was that I'm filming this on a Sunday, and a new Brad Mondo video came out. I'm always excited to see some hair dye fails, so I just put Brad Mondo on and watched that, and now we've got some dryness. So now the last thing that I need to do is really to do the lettering and the black outline. For my black polish, I'm using Bee's Knees Lacquer Void, and I think that I actually want to start by doing the letters on the dreidel first. Okay. Ooh, that is stringy. I don't know if y'all can see that. Let me see if I can focus on this. Do you see that string right there? It's like blowing in the wind. That is not good, because, you know, always make sure you see what's going on with your polish before you put it down on your nail art. Whoa, yeah, there's another. So this to me indicates that while my current consistency of void is good for painting with just my nails, I would probably need to put some thinner in it before it's at the consistency that I can do nail art with it. I do have Hollow Taco's 1 Coat Black over here as well, so let me put this down instead. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that when you're doing nail art, you don't have that stringiness, because y'all, I promise you, like, that is the easiest stuff to cause unwanted trails on your nail art. Again, nothing against Bee's Knees Lacquer Void. It is my absolute favorite black cream polish, but I've been using it a lot lately and it probably just needs some thinner. So let's just use 1 Coat Black for now. Okay, so we're back. Gonna use this pool over here. And yeah, I can see as I'm doing this, you see the difference now? No stringiness. So what did I say I was going to start with first? I'm going to start with the lettering. Okay, I'll do hey first. Once again, I'm telling myself, go smaller than I think I need to. Okay. All right, I am nervous. Just got to go for it. Okay. And then another thing I recommend too is, like, in between these tiny strokes that you do, probably go back and like either pick up some more paint polish or just kind of smooth it out to make sure that it's not like in a big lump on your brush, because the way the polish is sitting on your brush can change in between when you are painting with it. Okay, and then Okay, I think that looks pretty good right there. Nice. Let's go in for sheen next on the other side. Let's see, I'm looking at this and like that just feels like too much polish. Like I don't want to overload it. It honestly, it can take a lot of trial and error to figure out what's the optimal amount of polish that you want to have on your brush when you're doing super fine detailing like this. Okay. And then the last part there. Oh, that looks so good. What? That's amazing. Okay, I'm so proud of myself. That was probably the hardest part here. Okay, let's go and do the outline. Okay, I'm gonna start with the outlining in the middle first. I'm like trying to put this directly on top of, do not hit the letter, don't hit the letter. Okay, whew. I'm like holding my breath over here. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of like when I'm in dance class. So I've been doing tap dancing for like 15 years now, I think. And so pretty advanced in it. And when I go to my dance class, every week our teacher will teach us a sequence, and then we're all just like, okay, here we go. And then we do it a double time and we dance across the room, and then I do it and then I realize I was holding my breath the entire time. So I'm realizing I'm kind of holding my breath as I'm doing this here. So breathe, Olivia, breathe. Something else I'll point out here too is that if you're another alternative that you could do for the outlining, like if you wanted to still be outline, but maybe you don't want as harsh of a black line, you could do something like, is off black a color? Yeah, like a dark gray could work really well, but just make sure that it's something that is enough to be visually distinct from whatever silver polish you use or whatever colors you use for this. I think, you know, the most difficult part from here on out is going to be that top and making sure that, oh goodness, making sure that it, I put the outline where they're supposed to be outlined, and oh, sorry, my hands are shaking. Okay, what for those of you with shaky hands and arms, because my arms are also shaking, you can't see this, but what I do personally to help me with this is that I tend to, when I feel extra shaky, I bring my elbows like close into my body and kind of squeeze it a bit there. And again, not to the point where I'm not breathing, but I find that that does help me a bit. I just have to like pause, acknowledge that the shaking is happening, and then just recenter myself, and then I'm good to go. What I found that I should not do is pretend that the shaking isn't happening and just try to go on as is. But okay, y'all, we're in the home stretch of this dreidel. We're doing it. Okay, and looking at the reference image, we need to outline the top like that. Almost there. And then I think I just need to put like a line going into here to show like that. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that, okay? That before something else I would recommend as a piece of advice, know when to stop. And this, I think, is amazing for my first one of this video. Wow, so we've got a dreidel here. So what I'm gonna do next is to, once again, let this sit. I'm going back to my boy, Brad Mondo. And then once it's time for me to put top coat on this, I'm going to like start with a blob of it on the bottom and then just use the brush of the top coat to like float that over. I'm really proud of this, and I really can't wait to show this to my friends and family who will be celebrating Hanukkah. Okay, again, being patient is one of the most difficult things with nail art, but I'm very excited for this next part. So the second nail art idea that we're going to explore in this video will be the Hebrew letters that are on the dreidel. Now, on our first dreidel over here, we do have the first two letters, the sheen and the hey. I've got a dreidel here to help me more easily see which letters are which. But now I want to present the idea of, if you want those letters to be more prominent in your nail art, what you can do is have one letter on each nail. And what I've started with here on each of these four nail swatches, I put down 2 coats of cracked polish crinkled linens. Then I put on 1 coat of Hollow Taco's freezer burn for like a nice blue shimmer, and then put top coat over that, so that's our surface that we're working from. That's actually similar to what I did on some of my nails here today, like my thumb here. The only difference being that I put down like a flake topper, cracked polishes, mascara flakes in there. But yeah, I want it to be the case that here we've got a nice blue shimmer, but I didn't want to overwhelm the nails with too much decoration because I didn't want that to interfere with the letters themselves. Okay, and also I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I had a lot of fun researching this, and I want to explain a little bit more about why that is. I know on this channel before I've mentioned that I used to be a teacher earlier in my career, but I didn't say at the time what I taught. And so the subject that I used to teach was middle school Arabic. And so seeing the Hebrew letters and learning these for this video, it was very fascinating to see those similarities between Hebrew and Arabic, and making sure that I was doing justice to the Hebrew letters and doing them properly. So let's start with noon. And I have a little post-it note here because I also wanted to show you all like the Arabic sort of equivalents of these. So this right here is noon in Hebrew, but in Arabic it would be like, first of all, let me make sure my pen works. Let's try that again. In Arabic it would be like that. So you can kind of see the similarities there. Also, if you are not familiar with either language, you should know that both Hebrew and Arabic are written from right to left, so that can be something that makes the lettering a little bit more challenging to kind of look at and see how it's arranged. But you know, for me, when I started learning Arabic when I was in college many years ago, it took me a bit to wrap my brain around the idea of reading and writing from right to left. But then once I got into it, it just, you know, it didn't make sense any other way. It just like, oh yeah, of course I need to read and write this from right to left. I also say that now that I work in tech, I had the idea a couple years ago to do a project where I coded JavaScript in Arabic, and JavaScript is coded from left to right. Arabic is written and read from right to left. So by the end of that, I just needed a nap because my brain was a little exhausted. Okay. So we're going to start with noon, and this one, you can see this is why I'm going from right to left. It just wouldn't feel right for me to do this one and then that one, and y'all know what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to go like that. And this kind of nail art can be a very easy way to have Hanukkah nail art, but without needing to overload your nail with too much extra decoration. I recently posted a video about my favorite glitter toppers. Soon I'll be doing ones about like my favorite shimmer toppers, and I think that part of why I chose to include that freezer burn as a shimmer in this one is that it's an excellent way to add in some additional visual interest, but without needing to like add in dots and stuff, because just like in Arabic, there are certain Hebrew letters where the presence of a dot can completely change that letter and make it a different one. And so that's part of why I didn't want to introduce dots on this, because I didn't want to accidentally have those letters be representing something that they're not. Okay, we've got noon. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, this one, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I heard it pronounced a number of different ways when I was looking this up. We've got Gimel, and the Arabic version of this, I believe, is the letter Jim, which looks like, oh goodness, I almost forgot where I put the dot, because again with the dot. So this is the letter Jim in Arabic. Okay, so with Gimel, I'm gonna do it on this nail here. Okay. And I think I'm gonna go in like this. And remember, with nail art, it is okay to take your time. It's absolutely fine to do that. I will also say it's fine to change your mind about the artistic decisions that you make as you're doing nail art, whether that's with like the colors that you choose to put together or anything like that. I mean, that's kind of why I'm okay with y'all seeing how much I change my mind as I'm doing things in these videos. I think that looks good. Okay. Yes. Okay. We've got our Gimel. Moving the dreidel over to the next side, we have hey. This one is, so the Arabic version of this, I wanted to make sure to look up the correct H sound without this video turning into like an Arabic 101 lesson. There's a number of different H sounds that I'm familiar with in Arabic. So there's like ha, which comes from the front of your mouth, and then there's ha, which comes from the back of your mouth. And then there's also letters like ha that has like a sound in your back of your throat. But for this one, the Arabic equivalent would be this, looks like that. So this one here, let's load up the brush. Okay. And going to this one here. The other thing I'll say too is that I have this thing I do where I almost like to call it a magic trick, where I tell people that I meet that I can teach them how to read Arabic in 5 minutes. And they're like, no, you can't. I'm like, yes, I can. So, and it's one of those things I always like to pull out on people. And then I do the thing, and then they're like, oh my goodness, you taught me how to read Arabic in 5 minutes. So yeah, it's kind of like just a really fun thing to do to help people recognize how it's possible to pick up other languages, and it can be easier than you think as long as you like have someone to help you figure out how to approach it in a very open and fun way. Okay, we've got our hey. And last, we have sheen. And the, so this one in Arabic, so let me show y'all. There is this here. So that is seen in Arabic. But then if you do like that, that is sheen. So when I saw that this was sheen in Hebrew, but without like dots on top, I was like, but wait, sheen is that, not but that. Yeah, so, but I am familiar with how this kind of lettering would go. All right, our final letter. You know what, I probably need to put down a little bit more. Yeah, this is definitely keep in mind when your little pool of polish may have gotten dried up, because as I was trying to pull some from there, it was starting to do that stringy thing, and I'm like, nope, we are not doing stringy nail art today. Not today. Okay, so let's finish up with our sheen. Okay, that looks good. And okay, so I think I want to do this like I'm just looking to see where these, okay, so they all need to be like that. Yeah, I remember when I first started learning Arabic during my, that must have been my junior year of college. Imagine you are a college junior and you're taking all these classes, and then when you're learning a language like Arabic or Hebrew for the first time, where the alphabet is different than English, your homework that you have is, part of it is go home and write these letters like 10 times in a row. And I was fine with it because I got into learning Arabic because of my love of Islamic art and Islamic architecture. And I figured at a certain point, if I wanted to continue with that, I would need to know what those letters said. But I know for some of my classmates who were just like, hey, I want to learn Arabic to get a job. I don't want to do all this homework. It was tricky for them to have that patience. So okay, I'm very happy with how this turned out. Once again, I encourage you to take advantage of the combination of a plain creme polish, like an off-white, like crinkled linens, put a shimmer over it, like freezer burn, so you get that blue, and then on top of it, put your letters, and this is nail art. So let's go on to the next. Okay, we are now at our first accent nail. As I was researching ideas for this video, I also wanted to incorporate some ideas for accent nails, especially for those of you who might not be celebrating Hanukkah, but you are still looking at this video for some ideas for different types of nail art that might be fun to wear during this time of year. So looking at this reference photo, we've got like a few different like a few stars that are like starbursts throughout the nail, followed by some little dots in there that could be like baby stars. To begin with, I've put down 2 coats of Color Club's Nighttime is the Right Time, which is a very dark blue creme polish, one of my favorites. And then, just as with our other nail art so far, I've put on a coat of top coat so that will be our foundation to work with. I'm going to begin by drawing out those starbursts, like the bigger ones there. I've decided to use ILMP's canvas for this one. And let's see, it looks like you've got, okay. What I'm noticing in the reference photo that I like is that there's some kind of sense of movement and motion throughout. So you're not just like putting a big star in the middle there. You might put one up in the corner. So let's see. Then it's almost like a square. Okay. So far so good. And then from there, so yeah, what I'm noticing is that the stars kind of like taper out towards the edges. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that kind of detail here, but I do want to add in some additional stuff in the middle that is gonna make it like some additional points here that I'm drawing. And I might also put like little dots on the ends here. Oh no, oh no, 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 oh. This is why I can't talk and paint at the same time. Okay, that's not bad. I like, we're just not gonna talk about that. We're gonna, that's it's open to interpretation. I'm gonna extend this a little bit so that I can then add some more there. Okay, we're working with this. I've got a snowflake design coming up later, y'all. This is looking more like the snowflake than I thought. Okay, this is all right. That was our first one. We're gonna do one more time now that we know how that goes. And let's see. Okay, gonna go down. Gonna go across. I've got to say, like, nail polish is such a fun creative outlet for me. It is just I love it. I love being able to especially have this channel as a place to talk about glitter, to teach people new things, to just have creative expression. Okay, see, I think aside from this kind of reaching out to the side, that looks pretty good. I mean, it still looks kind of snowflakey, but we're just gonna roll with that for now. And next, we're just gonna use a dotting tool to put some additional, like some stars in the night sky. For this, I'm going to use Monarch Lacquer Enigma Glow. As I mentioned earlier, this is a magnetic polish, but I'm going to use it unmagnetized. But as I mentioned earlier, when I was using it for another nail art swatch, you could like magnetize this. That could actually be really cool to like have the slight velvet look to the silver that you put on. So knowing that these stars sorry, hold up. I'm just laughing because I'm realizing I had to be so intentional just now to tell my mind, Olivia, these are stars. Olivia, these are not snowflakes. There's these white bursts of whatever they are, of frostiness, are here. On my dotting tool, I have a bigger end and a smaller end. Because these two are taking up already so much of the space on here, I'm going to use the smaller one. Okay, and then, okay, that's good. And then just put the dots wherever. I think that it works best when there's no sense of like rhyme or reason. Just don't put them in a straight line or anything. Just kind of fill in that open space. Maybe put some in the middle there. And then over here. And maybe one up there. And one more. Oh, no, two more. Oh, three more. Okay, sorry. I'm having too much fun with this. There's this like satisfying feel that happens when you like use the dotting tool, and the dotting tool comes in contact with the nail, and it's sort of like a squish, but not. Okay, like that. Okay, I might regret this later, but I'm going to put also a dot in the middle of the, not snowflake, the starburst. Oh, it looks even more like a snowflake now. It looks like a flower. Okay, whatever this is, it is festive. It is fun. It is something that you can work with. And yeah, as I'm looking at the reference photo, I don't even, it could even be the case that those stars were made with like stamps or nail stickers and not, oh yeah, actually, as I'm scrolling through, I see those are decals that this nail artist used. So that helps me to feel a little bit better now, knowing that this was my attempt at replicating that, but you know, have some fun with it. Let's go on to the next one. The next design that we're gonna do is a candle. And what I really love about the way that this nail artist did their nails is that they put a different number of nails across like their four, so that it totals up to 8 candles for Hanukkah, which I thought was very creative. For my example, I think I'll do the one where there's like 2 candles on there. And I think that if you're going to do this, you'll want to choose 2 colors that not only work well together, but also gives you enough contrast so that the candle shape is able to stand out visually from whatever background you put with it. So for our blue, I have put down 2 coats of Zoya's Tyler. And then the gold that I'm going to use is Cracked Bit of Boubelet. This is a polish that it's a very beautiful gold. It almost has like a like a greenish aspect to it. Like it's in a good way. Like it's very metallic like, not in its formula, but when you see it, oh, I got some of the polish on my nail. When you see it, it gives a really great golden look, almost like a little bit of gold and brass, like if there's a midway point between there. Okay, so I've got my polish out, and this should be a relatively easy design to do. We've got 2 rectangles, and then above the rectangle you draw the flame, but then you leave like a little notch in there to represent where the wick would be. So I'm going to do these one at a time, I think. Like I'm probably going to do the first candle first and then move on to a second one. Okay. That's going on. Just adding some more here to really make sure that it looks like a candle. Okay, I like that. And now to draw the like flame above it, I think I'm gonna start on the left side first and kind of like, oops. I did a bloop up there, so we're just gonna make that part of this candle. There we go. No problem there. Swoop down and just be mindful of where that the negative space for the wick would be. Oh goodness. Okay, that one was a little rough. Let me zoom in on this so y'all can see what I'm talking about. It's not bad, but I can do better. So let's try this again now that I know what I'm looking for. You know what? And I could even like go over this with a little bit of blue to make that notch there. We'll see. But I'm gonna do it again over here, and hopefully this time it'll work better. So what I'm doing differently this time is that I'm making like a little square cutout and then building the flame around that. We're getting there. As with everything, the more that you do this in practice, the easier it becomes and the more refined it is. These candles are looking a little rough right now, but I do feel that they have potential. Those look like candles, I think. If I wanted to make them look even more candle-like, let me think about this for a moment. So I've got these candles here. One of the things I thought about doing was bringing in my gold flake topper and kind of like dusting that like off of there, but that might be a little too much. I think if anything, I should maybe like give a little bit more shape to the top of these. Oh, that did it. Do you see how that, okay, giving a more pointy top there. Now that looks like a candle. Oh, I feel so much better about myself right now. Or not better about myself. I feel better about my art. Okay, there we go. Yes. So, okay, that is the trick. If, like me, your candles aren't looking too candle-like, put some, like, give it a pointier tip, and that helps a bit. And I think I may do what I said I was going to explore, which is putting down a little bit of my background color. In this case, I'm using Zoya's Tyler, and then to add in just a little bit more negative space. Okay. So I've got my candles here that are looking more like candles, and I'm just taking some of my background color. I'm just gonna zoom in so you can really see what I'm doing here. Okay. And I don't want to overdo it, but I do want this to be, yes, okay. Maybe? Okay. I actually think that helped. Yeah, that totally helped. It really did. So I do recommend that if, like me, you find yourself in that spot where your candles aren't looking candle-like, 2 suggestions. Add a point to the top and then go in with your background color to give a little bit more negative space. And there you go. We've got candles. Next, we have actually a snowflake as opposed to what we had before. So for this snowflake, I've started by putting down 2 coats of the Sally Hansen Insta Dry on the download. So let me move that to the side. And then the color that we'll be using for the snowflake and the little snowballs will be ILMP's Canvas. So this one seems very straightforward. What I like about the reference photos here is that the on each of the nails, the snowflake isn't just like in the center. There's sort of the sense of movement that you get, especially when you do this on multiple nails and when you have it kind of like on the edge or in the corner or something like that. So I think with my dotting tool, I want there to be some variation between the size of the snowflake and the size of the snowballs around it. So for the snowflake, I'm going to do use my larger dots, and then for the snowballs, those will be the smaller ones. I think I'm actually going to begin by drawing the cross lines first. So I need it to be like the 6. So let's see, I think I'll do it up in the corner here. So like that. Yeah, speaking of snow, we've this past week or the week before here in the Chicago area, we've been getting a lot of it. Not so much like compared to other years where it's been worse than that, but it's just cold. It's just, you know, a little dreary around here. But around the holiday season, I do see how having some snow around you can help you to feel more festive. Okay. Oops. You know what? I think I did this wrong. That should have been. No, I didn't. No, I can do it kind of like, I think these should have been at a different angle now that I'm seeing this. Yeah, but you know, we're gonna improvise. There we go. That works. Okay, it's over there in the side. See, that's not the size it should be. Oh goodness, what do I want to do? I'm just going to put a little bloop there. Improvise. That's exactly what we're doing. So now that I've got that, I'm going in with my dotting tool and putting the 6 little ends on the 6 bigger edges here. 2. That's yeah, it's a little rough looking. Oh goodness, I was not paying attention when I did like the lines. I would say that reads as a snowflake. I think it does. It's a little wonky, but I think especially once we go in and add in some little snowballs around it, that will help to sell the image. So please learn from my mistake and make sure that you are doing your lines at the right like distribution for you to have 6 evenly spaced edges. I did not do that, but it's okay. It is art, and art can be whatever we want it to be. So now I'm just going to go in with the dotting tool and do like some smaller dots around. That. Okay, So yeah, my snowflake is doing its own thing. But yeah, this can be an excellent way to get some of that blue and white together, especially if you're celebrating Hanukkah in a place where there's a lot of snow going on. Our next design is going to be another accent nail, and this one looks like dots that are like falling into a ball pit. In this reference photo, I really love the sense of movement that we have there with all the dots, that it's not like the kind of nail art that we typically see with dots that would have like dots scattered all across the nail, but you see that there's a higher number of them gathered together at the bottom of the nail, with a few kind of sprinkled throughout from the middle on down, showing that sense of movement. And I think that this can be an excellent nail art design to incorporate into your Hanukkah nails if you are wanting to do something festive with Hanukkah colors, but you aren't yet at the level where you feel the confidence in drawing, but you do have a dotting tool and you do want to use that. So I'm going to use this reference photo, but then also do something else with it that you will see. I'm hoping this will turn out well. So I'm starting with 2 coats of cracked polish crinkled linens, put the top coat on as always, and now my first dotting color is going to be Zoya's Tyler. And you know, as I go on and do these, sometimes I forget which like pool on my little palette sheet here is which color, so just roll with it. And I think I'm going to start with, let me see, do I want to do big or small? I think I'm going to do bigger dots with this one. Okay. And we're just going about it kind of random. A little bit there. And reminding yourself to not go too far up. Okay, I think I want to do like, okay, that's pretty good so far for just this color. I'm going to clean off my dotting tool. And now let's go and pull out our next color, which is going to be Blank Beauty Polka Dot Blue. Let's put this over here. I'm hoping that the idea I have for this will work, but we'll see. Okay, so with Polka Dot Blue, I think for this one, I am going to do also the larger size of dots. So as you can see in the reference photo, it's absolutely fine to have your dots overlap. In fact, that's what you want to have happen, because you think about all those dots that are at the bottom of the nail, you want it to look like a ball pit there. So if they're touching, that's great. And then like maybe one there. Once again, make sure that you're not, that you're leaving enough space and like openness so that you are able to get that sense of like motion and falling and so on. Okay. Next, let's go back to Blank Beauty Nautical Nonsense, which if you happen to skip ahead, this polish is now listed on the Blank Beauty website as Pool Boy, but it's the exact same color, just a different name. Okay, for this one, I think I'm gonna go with the smaller size. And this is one of those times where I'm looking at what I've got so far and I'm just like, trust the process, because it's not like it's coming together, I think. Let me actually move that over there. Okay, so you can see how we've got like, it's looking like a ball pit, right? There we go. A little bit over there, and then like, You know, it can actually be very challenging to try to figure out where you want to put your dots when your goal is like random. Like I'm really good at having a sense of order and rhyme and reason, but if I'm just doing like, you know, it's got to be random, that can be really hard. Okay. Like that. All right. And then the last one for now is going to be our crack polish bit of Boubalay. So I think putting some gold in here will be an excellent choice, especially if some of your other Hanukkah nails incorporate these colors as well, or whatever colors you happen to have in your collection. And same with this one, I'm choosing to do a smaller dot, just to have some sense of balance. Okay. And I'm choosing to place these dots at places where not only do I see empty space that I can fill, but also where there might be two colors together, where having a little pop of gold in there could really help to give some more visual interest a bit, like over here. And I definitely want there to be like a dot of gold one falling. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. I don't want it to look so uniform like a pyramid there. You see, like I need to, like maybe if okay, that actually helps to make it so that this doesn't look as like uniform, because that's not what I was going for. So what I want to do is let all of this dry so that I don't smear it, and then I want to come back in with Crack Polish's Vanille, which is a white jelly polish, and then we're going to put a few more dots on top of that so it gives a sense of like depth. I have not tried this out. This is not what was going on in the reference photos. So, you know, I have a vision for this. I think it's going to work, but I'm going to pause for a bit to let this dry because I don't want to smear any of these dots when I put the Vanille over it. I'm going to go back to watching Brad Mondo and I'll be back in a few. Okay. Enough time, I think about like 7 minutes has passed to where I feel comfortable with going in with Vanille to give a little bit more depth. This is also something that I think could be helpful if you're wanting to have color on your nails, but you might want it to be a little bit more subdued. So I hope this vision comes through. Okay. And I'm being very cautious to apply this jelly polish evenly and with not a whole lot of force that is going to smear it. Now, as I'm doing this, I will say that depending on how you want to do this kind of look, I'm only going to do like one additional layer of dots on top of this, but you really could layer it even more if you wanted to. So, you know, I talked a bit about in this video the idea of like changing your mind along the way about things. Originally, I thought that what I wanted to do after this point would be to like add in these colors again on top, but now I'm thinking that what I want to try out instead would be, of course, once this dries, I actually think I want to put a little bit more of Vanille on here. You know, with jelly polishes, the great thing is that you can build them up as much or as little as you like. And I do want to get just a little bit more separation here, meaning that I want these colors to be visible, but I want them to feel like they're more in the background. And when you build up a jelly polish like Vanille over this, that's what you're getting. So you see how it's like the background is being blurred even more, but you can still see that there's color there. So I feel great about that. And now what I'm going to do to finish it off, well, I should let this sit first. So let this sit, let it wait, and then I'll be back for the last part of this. So for the final part of this nail look, now that I've given the nail a few minutes, actually more like 10 minutes to sit and dry, I've put out some more of Monarch Lacquer Enigma Glow. And in case you happen to skip ahead to this part but haven't seen me use Enigma Glow earlier, it is a magnetic topper, but for this art I'm doing it unmagnetized, but you could absolutely magnetize this like in the velvet style when you use it. So I am going to go over this with some random silver dots. And my vision here is that what this will do is make the silver be more prominent. You know, it's like you've got these silver balls that are like more present, and you still have the other colors behind you, but there's this sense of depth that you get there. And you know, is it turning out exactly the way that I was hoping it would? Not fully. I think it might have been better if I stopped earlier, but you know what? This is like my first time trying this. So like that, honestly, y'all, that is one of the things about nail art that I encourage you to do. Like, absolutely, before you put a design on your actual nails and the time that it takes to do that, practice it out. I do this all the time when I am trying to figure out what kind of nail combination to put together so that I don't end up like painting my nails and then I'm like, oh no, I wanted to do something else. But yeah, I'm actually happy with how this turned out here. I do see the potential for it. I think I just have to rework it a bit, but you know, there's it's a good starting point. So for our last two nail art designs, we're going to make a menorah. And as I was researching this, I came across two different options that I wanted to show. The first one being painting a menorah on a single nail, and then the second option that we're going to do after this is painting a menorah that's split across two fingers. So like if you were to do it on these two fingers here, you would have half of the candles on this nail, half of the candles on that nail, and then when you have them together, it looks like the whole menorah. I would say that this first option of painting the menorah on a single nail is probably the better option to go with if you happen to have wider nail beds. And so we'll see how it goes on this one here. I know I've said before that I have a tendency to paint very big, but I'm trying to rein it in. So what I've done here, I've put down 2 coats of Zoya's Tyler, followed by 1 coat of Bee's Knees Lacquer Nosferatu. I don't know what that sound was. The reason I put a shimmer on top of this is to show you, just like I did with the Dreidel letters here, that the possibilities that you can have to give even more life and visual interest to your nail art just by the simple addition of a shimmer topper. So our gold that we're going to start with is cracked bit of Bubolet. Still can't believe I was making vampire sounds. I am sorry for that, y'all. So let's see. Looking at the reference photo, I think it'll probably be best for me to get my center candle established. And okay, I'm gonna do this in a very delicate way. And kind of flare it out at the bottom to represent the base that I'm establishing here. Okay, now from here, I need to bring out 4 candles on each side. So I got 1. I need to keep these relatively close together because I only have so much space. What I might do actually is make the dots here. 1, 2, wait, I need 4, okay. There we go. We're being a little flexible here. 2. You can see why I said, like, if you have wider nails, this is the way to go. Okay. All right, so we got a connection there. Now this just means we need to extend our base down a little bit because we needed to take up some space for that. But, you know, the general view is here. Like, we want it to appear that we've got our 8 candles, or what will be our 8 total candles. I think I'm gonna do the same thing I did over here where I start by spacing these out first. I think that'll help. So 1, oh my goodness, 2, 3, 4. These nails here there's really not a whole lot of space to work with, but we are going to do the best that we can. Okay. Getting it to connect. Then the last one is going to be off on the side. I don't know if our last one's going to be able to be fully represented with the candle up there, but you know, this is our best that we're doing here. Okay, next we need to put down some white for the candles themselves. We got IL&P canvas. Okay. And for this, we are just doing some straight lines up from our menorah that we have started to draw. So, but we also want to make sure to leave enough room at the top for the flame. Yeah, so you can see why I also wanted to include that option of having a menorah across 2 nails. Because if you are like me in that you have like relatively more narrow nail beds, like there's just no way, like maybe my thumb I could do it, but I think that if I were to do my nails, if I wanted to paint a menorah on my nails to go to a Hanukkah gathering, I would probably take the route of doing it spread across. Okay. They're not fully even, but I can confirm that we do have all the candles there. The 8 candles and then the helper in the middle. So now the last thing we need to do for this one is to go back to our gold and then add a dot above to represent the flame. So I'm going to do this working from the right to the left. And yeah, I would also say make sure to, as you can, leave a little bit of space between the white candle and the flame. And so yeah, this is where I think having that shimmery background really adds to the sense of like making this stand out as a special nail. So, you know, that is another consideration you can keep in mind when you're deciding which polishes to use together. I feel that if there's a certain nail that has extra importance to you and that you really want to make more visible, adding a shimmer to the background there really helps that to stand out. So yeah, this is our menorah that we have on one single nail. And our final nail art design that's coming up next, I'm going to show you how to do a menorah across 2 nails. Okay, our final example of Hanukkah nail art is going to be a menorah that is drawn across not just 1, but 2 nails in this case. And it looks like in the reference photo, it's going to be a little bit different from what we had with the menorah here, where we have the full base that's visible. When we are doing it across the two nails, it looks like we're going to focus more on the candles and just making sure that we've got 4 on the left, 4 on the right, and then I'm seeing the like the helper candle in the middle, that it's like a little bit half and half. What I did to start here was that I put down 2 coats of Color Club Nighttime is the Right Time, followed by a shimmer topper, Bee's Knees Lacquer, Nosferatu, and top coat, of course. So let's go ahead and start with our gold again, the cracked bit of Boubalé. Yeah, I think that if I were to like do this for myself for a Hanukkah celebration, knowing the size of my nail bed, I would definitely need to have the 2 nail option, because it can be a lot to try to fit onto a single nail. So I was really happy to come across this option that I think will be hopefully a good one for you all who want to do a menorah but need some more space for that. So let's see. Looks like we want to do the middle, just like a little bit of that representation of that center candle on each of these. Oh, that was a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be. Let's try that again. That's fine. And then we've got 4 on each side. So I think what I'll do to make sure I don't run out of space will be to evenly-ish put my dots out as like reference points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, even spreading it across, it can be challenging. So I'm going to get these connected in. Yeah, I really like having this additional space compared to the previous one. I mean, the previous one turned out better than I thought that it would, considering just how much I was trying to put on a single nail, but I do prefer this option of putting it across 2. Okay, now the last one. Yeah, and also because you don't fully see like the center base of the menorah, there's a little bit more flexibility in how you can go about making the connectors for the candles appear. So we've got our 4 there. I'm gonna do the same thing on the left side, where I begin by placing my dots to help me more evenly position these and not run out of space. Because yeah, you know, when you're working on such a small canvas, it's amazing to see how sometimes you just like, you kind of forget the bigger picture of what you're working with, and you get so focused on making a single element on your canvas that you forget about the bigger picture, and you need to remind yourself, okay, well, I've got to make sure that I'm leaving enough space to work with this, to work with that. It can be very tricky, but you know what? Trial and error. Oh, okay. We're looking good so far. Okay. Let me go ahead and put out, we need some white. And this is where I'm like deviating a bit from this particular reference photo that has a different color scheme. You know, this one, the reference photo has more of a white background, and then the candles are represented by like the yellow and orange flame. But what I'm gonna do is just replicate use the same color scheme that we did for the previous one. Dropping my brush everywhere here. Okay, so let's go with the white. And I think we're gonna do just a small dot. Go. Yeah, this is, I would say, the easy part. Like, you know, once you have your, you know, the main part of your menorah drawn, you've got like adding the candles. Oh, that is such the easy part. I feel like I can finally breathe again. Okay. All right. And now to finish everything up, I think I'm actually going to pull out a different yellow to use this time. This one I'm going to use comes from Schlee Polish. It's called Star. I got this through Hella Handmade Creations. Just going to shake it up a bit because I haven't used it in a while. It's called Star because it is connected to the movie Wish, which is, I think, probably my favorite animated movie, because I just love the little star that's in there, and how she does the wishes and everything. It's just so cute. So I think that this would actually be a really lovely color to include here for the flames in this version of the menorah. Oh yeah, that's great. That one was a little bit too close. Like before, you want to make sure that there is some space between the top of your candle and where you put the flame. I really like this here. I mean, it's a very subtle difference between Star and a bit of Bubbly, but I do really like this variation that I'm doing here, where I'm using a different color for the menorah than I am for the candlelight. I think it just adds another something very special. And if you have polishes like this in your collection that are colorful, shimmery, these are exactly the kind that you want to use for something like this. So yeah, this turned out great. Now let's go ahead and see how all of these look in some different lighting. So this video took a little bit longer than usual to film because when I do nail art videos, I typically do just 5 designs. But with this being for Hanukkah and there being 8 nights of Hanukkah, I wanted to bump it up a bit to have 8 different nail designs. And so if you're curious how long it takes for me to film one of these videos, when you factor in, I think especially with nail art that requires multiple layers to dry in between with the top coat that I put, about 3 hours. I'm not sure how long the cut down edited video will be, but yeah, it was so much fun to do these. I love being able to learn about the significance of some of the symbols and letters that are on here, and also to look through my collection and figure out which colors and finishes I wanted to bring together to create some very festival nail art. So for those of you who will be celebrating Hanukkah, I want to say to you, Chag Sameach. And also, I hope that this nail art was helpful for inspiring you to create some nail art that will give you an even brighter Hanukkah. So thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.